all about. What do I want it to be? And even when we were together Friday evening at Sam's lovely home, cooked wonderful dinner for us, and we kind of just strategized about what we were going to do on the podcast with Brad.
What a fun night that was, too.
Yeah, it was. It really was. I had told them, listen, this podcast was created to be, is now, and will forever be 3 guys sitting at the pub talking about football. That's all I ever want this to be, and that's all I think it will ever be.
Yeah.
Brad made it 4 guys sitting at a pub talking about football.
Yeah, and I think that's one of
what was awesome.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that really adds to the sickness of it all, is that he's such a great guy, and
he's a guy's guy. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. That you nailed it. That says it all right there. He absolutely is. He's the kind of guy that you want to hang out with. He's the kind of guy you want your son to be like, and it was probably worthy of sort of talking, taking a quick step back and just talking about what we did to prepare. And we basically went through and we reconstructed his career sort of chronologically, which is really fascinating. And then we sort of went through and asked questions as it related to those respective time periods in his career. And then we overlaid that with supporter questions, and then we tried to sort of maximize efficiency and try to get as many people as involved. So we had a couple supporters involved with a number of different questions, and it was great because what we all did was this great job of, because we kind of had a sense of what the questions were that we were going to prioritize, but we've always been a very organic show, like even this show, right? We're like, we're going to grieve today. I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about, but we're just going to gamble. And we did it with him, and we figured out it was so many great segues and transitions into questions that just sort of fit whatever he wanted to talk about. And for a guy that said, we only had 40 minutes, he never, ever gave us, and I think we all read vocal and body language pretty well, and we were the ones that felt bad that we'd taken an hour and a half of his, recording time on top of the 30 minutes that we did before then.
Yeah, because even after we ended the show, he kind of stayed on the phone with us, and we had a couple of last just minute questions and thank yous and things like that, and he was literally, obviously, Skype on his phone, and he was walking down the steps, and I was like, okay, Brett, listen, we've taken up enough of your time, we need to get going, and he goes, yeah, wife's kind of giving me the stink eye, so, he's just one of the guys, man. It was just so
really
wonderful.
The last thing that I'll say about the whole conversation, I really felt this genuinely as I was doing research and doing due diligence. I truly, truly believe he is the greatest American footballer, soccer player. I don't want to take anything away from Landon Donovan, who's had an incredible career. And we sort of shared our thesis, if you will, with him. It wasn't meant to embarrass him. We weren't trying to suck up to him. We genuinely believed it, and he's an even greater man than he is a footballer. And that's probably the biggest compliment I can say about him.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect end to that section of the podcast.
Yes, because we never even talked about the match with him. So let's talk.
Yeah, so in between Friday night and Sunday afternoon, we had this little affair called Tottenham versus Leicester City.
Leicester.
So, lads, we were, it was a very Spursy start to the day because our host pub had both of the Six Nation games on the big screen, so we were relegated to the back of the pub, and as the City West Brom game ended, there was dead space between that and our game, and 10 o'clock rolls around and there's no game on the screen, and they go fumbling for it, and 6 minutes in, one Lloris injury and one Harry Kane goal later, we finally get the TV on, and you could barely hear the audio over the screams and the volume of the rugby match. So the day didn't start off well, and as much as things were going well on the pitch, it got a little shaky there for a little bit, much to the chagrin of the Gooners sitting next to us. They were loving every single minute of that until we put them in their place. But it was... there was a bit of a wobble in there for us, wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, certainly there was. Listen, there's no secrets about the defensive liabilities that we have with the club right now, and even what people would arguably say is the best match that we played all year, which was the Chelsea 5-3. We gave up 3, and if it wasn't for Lloris, we probably would have drew or even maybe lost that game.
But Kenny, why are there defensive liabilities with that back four? Why?
I think it's personnel. It's got to be personnel. Listen, Pochettino he didn't have these issues at Southampton, and he's running the exact same system.
But just go through the four individually. You've got a right back who's been in the England squad regularly, whether he's playing or not.
Yeah.
You've got next to him, who have you got? I mean, my God, you've got a young and up and coming. It's Dyer. Dyer's in between him, right? And then then Vertonghen, who is right, and then you've got Danny Rose, who actually is the least ironic. Did you ever think that you would ever think that Danny Rose would be the smallest liability of your back four?
No, because not only did I want Ben Davis last year, and we did end up signing him, I wanted Danny Rose sold, and I think that a lot of people would probably agree with that.
That's why I asked the question. So why is this back four dysfunctional?
And he didn't have a bad game.
No,
he was our best player. He was our best player. If you watch that game again, you'll see he really had two game-saving or goal-saving tackles at the very least, amongst a whole bunch of other pretty decent work. Why are they so dysfunctional?
I don't know. I can't recognize it because I try to figure it out all the time. We get caught in the run of play and on the counterattack. Listen, top to bottom, and I've said this before, the English Premier League is the best league in the world, and the reason is it? Number 20 can beat number 1 at any given time.
Well, I think there's greater parity in this league than any other league.
And that's why. And that's all that you need to have just to say why.
So here's a question.
It doesn't matter about Champions League and all that crap, and all the teams from England are out of the two cup competitions for Europa and Champions League. None of that matters in terms of the best league in the world. What matters is the competition.
I rewatched that game, highlights of it a couple of times. And Leicester acquitted themselves very well. And whether we took them for granted, I would hope not, because they gave us a run. They gave us a run for their money on Boxing Day.
Twice they did. They beat us once, and they gave us a run the first time.
So, they took their chances. I got to admit, the defending on Morgan's goal was shocking, and the way they did what we normally do with the counterattack on their first goal. Nugent's cross was sublime. I mean, it found Vardy on the money. It was like the ball was on a piece of string, and that was a very, very quick transitional goal. And I think that shook us a little bit because we thought we were in cruise control at 2-0 up. And then when the equaliser went in, there only looked like one team that was going to go on and win it, and it wasn't us. You could argue the penalty was a bit soft. There wasn't a lot of difference between that and Chadley's, although Chadley made his look a little more dramatic in the first half. But I've seen worse decisions than that.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I think it was
the game winner was very fortunate. The little ball bouncing around between Eriksson and the defender, and then ends up going in the net as an own goal when Chadley had missed two sitters earlier.
Yes.
But listen, that game defined our season, and the reason I say that is, listen, it hasn't happened a lot, but how many times have we gone up 1-0, 2-0, and we're looking stellar in the first 20-25 minutes of the game, and then we take our foot off the neck of somebody, and now you've pissed off and poked the bear, and the bear is now running down your throat, and that's what happened on Saturday.
No, I hate to use bad language, and I'm trying not to curse, but it was a bumblefuck of a game. I mean, it really was. Like think of it this way. So, going back to the defender question, why are we so bad? Think about their third goal. I mean, what caused Dyer to be so out of position and so sort of out of sorts and in this position where he doesn't know whether he should go for that ball versus Bentaleb, and then Vertonghen makes just a dreadful attempt at the ball. I mean, so a lot of people are saying, "Oh, our defensive coaching is terrible." I'm sorry, that's players there, right?
It is.
Mm-hmm. I think it is.
No, there's not. You don't have to think. It's a known fact. Listen, Pochettino's not playing.
Right.
And there's nothing that you're going to do from a system standpoint, because he's not going to not play 4-2-3-1. 80% of the teams in the league are playing 4-2-3-1 because it's a very secure but also very forward-thinking, especially the way he plays it. even Brad had told us yesterday, there are multiple derivatives of that formation. And the one that Pochettino plays is 4-2-3-1 attack. Every single player has bought into that style of play, and if they have not, they are not playing.
Yeah,
he made that abundantly clear to us yesterday. Yeah. So put 2 and 2 together, folks. Do you want to run and press? Because if you don't, you're not even going to make the 18. It's not hard to figure out who those players are. Okay? You as a player, listen, when you're this far into the season, there is no more we're trying to work things out. Let's face it, Liverpool, and I hate to use them as the example, have bedded in 9 players, and they look like they weren't going to do much in the first half of the season. They're playing like gangbusters right now. They really are. I mean, aside Gerrard's red card and they lost to United and all that is beside the point. Where they have come from to where they are now is leaps and bounds. Now, we struggled at the beginning of the year, and we made some progress, but we are still a defensive liability to ourselves. I do not believe, firmly, that it is because of the system. I firmly believe that we do not still have the right players playing on that back four, and possibly in the mid. Listen, I love Ryan and Nabil as much as anybody does. Their youth and enthusiasm are what getting them on the pitch right now. That's what's getting them on the pitch right now. But it's also their youth and enthusiasm that can be a crutch. And we see that from time to time. We've seen them play out their ass, and we've seen them play garbage.
Manchester United.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and
with
QPR to an extent.
With the exception of a couple of games, this entire season has been sort of littered with this. Well, we play to our opposition, and you look at what we did at Arsenal, you look at what we did at home at Chelsea. Even the cup final, it was a very spirited result. We were playing a better team, but you look at Vertonghen and you look at Dyer, they actually played quite well that game. And then you look at what we've done with the Leicesters and what we've done with the West Hams, and obviously there's worse teams than that, but there's many games where we should have been like look, when we were 2-0 up, I looked at you, Chairman, I was like, we should win this 5 or 6-0.
Well, we were all in the pub. We were talking about, listen, goal difference could be a big deal. We really need to stomp a mud hole in them and just get this over with 6-0. Because we had every opportunity to do that.
Said last week, Kenny, you said you wanted us to batter Leicester. And I said, we haven't battered anybody. Like, no, I just wanted a full-on, 90-minute, complete dominant performance. And we just don't do that. So it makes for a very, very interesting conversation, very interesting argument. Well, is it players' mentality? Is it system? Is it coaching? And I guess I just don't know.
Well, and even Brad had said, no, he flat said, listen, if you guys are watching the game and you see something that's happening like what's happening at United, they are not running the system properly. That has nothing, absolutely zero, for all the Pochettino haters out there, to do with the manager. The players are not using and utilizing the system and what they have been shown properly on the pitch. That is all it is, 100%.
He did say that. He really did. He did say it was players. He did. And I don't think it's players' talent. No. I just think it's... look, you can't tell me that Jan Vertonghen isn't capable of doing better than his sort of fail-bit header attempt at stopping that third goal.
Right.
And you can't tell me that Nabil Bentaleb and Eric Dyer, as young guys, aren't going to be able to communicate better to figure out who should have had that ball around midfield in the first place.
Well, and another great analogy that he used, listen, when we started recording, it was about midway through the Chelsea-Hull game. And he said, look, Chelsea are leading the league, and they are easily the best team in this league right now. Up 2-0, and what do? They take their foot off the gas, and before they know it, Hull is in their face, and it's a 2-2 game. It happens all throughout this league, top to bottom, that teams are just unwilling. It's almost like there's this mentality, and Simon, correct me if I'm wrong. You go up 2-0, this should be done and dusted, and all we have to do is park the bus, and we're done.
Well, I think if we had gone 3-0 up with Eriksen hitting the post and Chadley skying it over what was effectively an empty net, I think it might have been a different outcome. I think Leicester, going in at half-time, they probably would have gone in at half-time 3-0 down. We could have arguably gone for the jugular second half, but I think when they pulled one back we had a few self doubts, and they had